Thank you very much. Up next, District 3 Council Member Jeff Coughlin.
All right, thank you, Council President. Let me start out with thanks to the folks Stearns that talked about the comments in the dumpster. I've seen those emails, and I know I'll be talking to Parks as well to help see what the options are there and what we can do with it. And I know there's also an Evergreen Park meeting being organized, and maybe a couple of us can brainstorm and just get some ideas for what we'd like to see in the park, and we can pass that on to the Parks Department and see what we can make happen. So again, thanks for speaking up on that. I've got a couple slides here, and the first slide will echo former council members and kind of difficult conversation about fireworks. So I really value our 4th of July traditions and having fun, and we live in a fantastic town that embraces that. And I do value a reasonable amount and type of fireworks in keeping with that tradition. But as we've heard, I also really want to balance that with the residents' desire for peace and safety, and protecting our local environment and parks. So we've gotten a lot of feedback on the fireworks by email. I've heard from a lot of folks personally. I've seen a bunch online. And I got a ton last year while campaigning, and I've lived here 10 years. We've been talking about it a long time. And I got to say, the overwhelming amount is continually asking us to do something to reduce the amount of fireworks and the impact. And I would say most of them are really about the fireworks that occur, continuously before and after the 4th of July, and the fireworks that are set off in public places. And it's just the drawn out nature of the whole event, and fireworks being set off right next to people's homes. And so we're often asked to pass the ordinances, and I remind people, we have an ordinance on the books that prohibits fireworks, 364.5 days out of the year. It's just those 12 hours on the 4th where it's legal, and it's never legal in parks or city streets, public places. And so I noticed this year, there's effectively been a decision to just not enforce the ordinance. Residents were told to file a police report online for data keeping, and as far as I'm aware, no response went to calls unless there was an imminent threat to life or property. And I recognize it's a difficult problem. It's a lot of ground to cover. Staffing is extremely tough. It's hard to locate individuals based on reports of loud sound nearby. And absolutely, of course, we have to prioritize calls for threats to life and property. But we also know, the parks in the city and the public places where folks continually set them off every year. And while the 4th is the busiest, it's not as busy as the days surrounding it. And so I just have to say out loud, I don't think it's the best approach to have a blanket no response or enforcement at all to calls of fireworks being set off. And I just heard from folks that were confused to see it, repeated from city communications that fireworks were illegal in public spaces and, outside the 4th. But when they went to call or report it, they found there was no response and there wasn't going to be any enforcement. And so I just want to say publicly, let's not wait another year to react. Let's start now with the data we have in hand. It sounds like the Public Safety Commission is going to be looking at that and come up with an action plan for targeted enforcement and other measures that can really make a difference. And I just want to say out loud, I think it's not just us passing another ordinance. Council and administration really need to work hand in hand to address a lot of these citizen concerns. So that was the difficult part up front. But again, kudos to the Parks Department, did a good job cleaning up as long as a lot of neighbors. So I'm glad, hope everyone had a safe and happy 4th. Next slide, on to more exciting things. I want to announce that the Manette community is having a garage sale. Again, I love the local events like this put on by neighborhood groups. It's not this weekend, but the next weekend, 9 to 2. They got a sign-up sheet, and again, a great way, I think, for folks to find treasures from their neighbors and help things not go to landfills, but get recycled and reused. So how fantastic. And then my last slide here is I want to give a shout out and thanks to Josh Farley and the Kitsap Sun and the Rotary Club of East Bremerton for putting on the Bridging Bremerton events, especially the one this past weekend. Josh Farley invited me to talk at the Manette Pub Crawl. So I went there with my council hat on, and on the left, I talked about the 1918 housing project in Bremerton, which happened during World War I. And we got a lot of great city infill from this project. And it was one of the first times you had modern codes and the idea of a green city, and not just building a bunch of cookie cutter houses, but sprinkling them throughout the town where needed. It's just a great example of infill development. And so, of course, I tied it to, hey, next year we're going to be taking public comment on the Bremerton 2044 comprehensive plan. We have decisions to make on how our neighborhoods develop and how the city grows. So please hand that out, and kudos to DCD for making up some business cards that had great contact information for folks. So also pass some of those out, and I just thought it was a great way to engage with neighbors. And that's it for my report. Thank y'all.